What are we arguing about?
A man is gonna do what a man wants to do.
All on your wrist. Make you my wife, you no longer my bitch.
Let's get it. My name is Will. I'm the host of this show, the number one Polynesian podcast in the world.
Dripping in Versace. All these other hoes trying to copy.
Women tend to bounce around in relationships. They can't stick and stay in a long-term relationship.
Again, don't agree with this. Just...
So let's say, are you still in it? Are you still in it?
No. So you're basically saying I'm a whore.
This content is not suitable for the children under the age of 18 without adult supervision. Please be advised.
So I just wanted to take the time and make this video to apologize to absolutely nobody. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another session of the Kava podcast. The session on this beautiful Friday night, live out of San Francisco. As you guys can see, we have a special guest here tonight. I'm excited to have a special guest for you guys, for always to join me on my live interviews on Friday nights. As always, I appreciate everybody that's do watch me and be part of the show. You guys already know what to do to keep it short, like and subscribe if you see value on the content. And of course, this is a public show, so a lot of you guys do ask, how do I jump on and be part of the conversation with my special guest? There's a way to do it. You can become a supporting member of my locals. The link is in the description below. Click on that link, and you have the opportunity to be able to join us and be part of the conversation, or if you have direct questions you want to ask my special guest tonight. And of course, you guys already know it's a live stream. Let me know what you guys think. If you have any specific questions or topics that you guys want to ask us or ask my special guest tonight, you can definitely be able to ask that through a super chat, and I'll be able to save that the last 30 minutes of this show. I'm going to focus on our guests for the pod interview. I'll save the last part of the show, and if you'll be able to respond to any super chat donations. And as always, for everybody that supports me financially with your donations to the channel and to my locals, always appreciate you guys always supporting the content and be able to elevate it to give you guys the best quality content. And but nevertheless, that's pretty much all my YouTube stuff. I'm excited. I'm gonna give another shout out to my guest real quick. I'm excited to have Dallin Peely on here tonight for our guests. Dallin, welcome to the show, man.
Man, appreciate you having, bro. I'm honored, man. I've been watching your YouTube shorts. I've been looking at your Instagram, man, and seeing the people that you've had on your show, man. Like I said, bro, I'm honored to be here and happy to provide any sort of value that I can, man.
No, I really appreciate it. Really appreciate it. Yeah. So, you already know people who watch my content is we keep it real, we keep it unfiltered, we keep it raw. So I'm excited to have you. I ran into. I know I interviewed your brother last night, and not last weekend, last Friday, and then I'm excited to have you on here and join us tonight. But we'll go right into the pod interview. We go right into it. I saw something interesting on your. There was a clip, and I think it's a really good question to ask, because we're going to talk a lot about your rental business, success, entrepreneurship, mindset. But this was very interesting to me, caught my eye, because you had a good take on this. But one thing that we always hear when it comes to success content is you have to work really, really hard, right? And there was, so I want to ask you the question, Dallin. Does hard work pay off?
So, we could take up the whole podcast talking about this, man. And again, don't get me wrong. I do believe that hard work is a factor.
Yeah.
In achieving what you want to achieve, whether it be success, whether it be, a lot of, income, whether it be increasing your net worth, whatever it is, hard work is definitely a factor. But I don't think that it's as big of a factor as it once was, right? And so, like, for example, I think in our parents' generation, right, you could get by off of pure hustle, off of pure grit, right? If you could dig the biggest hole in the ground, you typically got paid the most. Right? It was all about who could work the hardest and who could work the longest hours. Nowadays, due to social media and technology and jobs and stuff like that, it's more about I call it prudence. Right? That's your ability to make decisions quickly. It's more about your network, right? It's more about who you know, right? And the reason why I say that is, I mean, if we just are honest with ourselves, right? I mean, if the hardest workers got paid, I mean, dude, it would be the construction workers that are working out at night right now.
Yeah.
Right. But why don't they get paid the most? You know what I'm saying? And so I don't think hard work is necessarily the biggest factor anymore to reach the levels you want to reach.
Let me offer you this, because I understand where you're coming from, but I do agree with you. But because usually when people say hard work, the first image that comes to their mind is like physical, right?
Yeah.
It's physical, but I think hard work is still a factor, but it's just a different form of hard work. So if you are a construction worker, naturally your hard work is going to be physical. But if you're working in the finance industry, if you're working into stock market, it's not really about physical work. It's just more mental work and refining your craft and improving the skills that you have, which is still hard work, but it's not as physical as a construction laborer job. But I think the same amount of focus and attention is given to the task that you're doing. Does that make sense or no?
No, 100% it does. But this is what I'm saying, because even if we're talking about the mental game, I feel like I'm still trying to be more successful, but I'm happy with where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
Now, I am not where I'm at right now because I'm the smartest guy. Yeah. Because I come from money. I'm not where I'm at because I work the hardest, or I speak the best, or I communicate the fastest, right? I'm not any of those, right? I just understood at starting a business, my only job as the CEO or the boss or the business owner was, how can I fire myself from as many roles as possible, the fastest, right? I needed to delegate jobs to other people that were better at those jobs than I was.
Okay.
Right. And so for me, I'm good at coordinating, right? I'm good at being a visionary. I'm good at thinking of where I want to get to and what I want to do, right? But as far as the executing part, bro, I have like the worst ADHD. So when it comes to executing, I get distracted, right? And so I needed to go out and delegate these jobs, as far as the execution part goes, to the people that are task oriented, people that could get the job done, people that are good, people that are hard workers, right? Because I'm not the hardest worker. Does that make sense? Nor am I the smartest worker. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Do you let me offer, because I heard this from somebody else. I just want to offer it to you. Do you think hard work is necessary? Because I do believe in the there's a saying or adage that goes, hard work does not guarantee success, but success, you cannot be successful without hard work, right? So you can work really, really hard, but that doesn't really guarantee success. But you have to work hard if you want to be successful. It's part of the blueprint, right?
100%. And that's what I just said, right? Like I still believe hard work, hustling, having grit, I still believe it's a factor in success.
Yeah.
I just don't believe it's as big of a factor as it once was.
Do you think I like this debate because I like this topic. It's really interesting to me because I see how your mind works. Do you think for the average person, do you think there's levels, maybe this way, do you think there's levels of success? So maybe in the rock bottom, when you have no skills, no experience, no opportunities, you have to grind like a madman and work really hard to get to a certain point. And then, like you said, at a certain point, when you finally become a leader or manager or CEO, when you get to that level, then the hard work is going to be a different form. And now you can delegate that into other areas to get to that next level. But for the average person, if they're starting off with nothing, no resources, no experience, no skill set, it's a motherfucking grind. Like you really, really have to bust your ass to get to a certain level of experience, opportunity, network, or promotion or position. And then maybe from that point, you don't really have to grind as much as far as the physical aspect, the sacrifices you made when you were at the rock bottom. But then now you can kind of delegate that more and work smarter and not harder.
Yeah. So I think starting off,
Yeah,
you know, I think getting started, absolutely. You want to be on the ground, you want to roll up your sleeves, and you want to get to work.
yeah.
But I think the biggest issue, right, is while you're on the ground, right, while you're 10 toes down and your sleeves are up and your boots are buckled up, you're not just working obliviously. You're not just out there, you know, working for a paycheck. You're out there working to develop skill sets, right? Because
Skill set. Yeah.
I believe skill sets is what gets you as
Paid.
far as yeah,
Yeah.
right. So for me, my biggest thing is you will only go as far as your mind and your skill sets allow you to, right? And so if you're not working on number one, your mindset, and number two, your skill set, then I mean you're just running on a treadmill, dude. You're just running in place, right? And so I do believe when getting started, yeah, you got to be 10 toes down and you got to be working, right? But again, you got to be working with a purpose. You got to be working with the intention to be mastering your craft, like you said, right? You want to master a skill set, right? Like you're working with intent.
Yeah. No, though, because I think what's concerning to me, and this is just my personal experience in dealing with the younger generation, is, you know, even though they may have better opportunities or they have more access to resources, the internet, able to have more skills than our previous generation of parents, but the one thing they always hear on social online is, you know, you don't have to work as hard. You know, you just focus on this. And what happens is, what I see for the younger generation is they have the assumption, oh, I don't really have to work that hard, and all I gotta do is get the right resources, skill sets, but and they don't really build a foundation of that strong work ethic because they're just trying to find the fastest way to get to that next level, which is okay, but the thing is, there's no guarantee how long it's going to take you to get there, and when they finally get to a long period of time and they're not getting the results that you want, that's when you really have to double down on your work ethic and keep going. Right. And a lot of them, because they haven't built that foundation of work ethic, then because they relied more on their skill and their talent or their internet or the resources or whatever opportunity they're in, then it kind of hinders them, or they end up quitting or try to bounce around to find something else. That's just an observation I've seen.
No, for sure.
So I see it from both sides. I understand where you're coming from, but I just, what I've seen, the younger generation or the younger kids coming up, they have the mindset, oh, I don't want to work hard as much. I just want to learn this skill, learn this, get it quick, because that's where we're at today in modern day 2023. But then when things don't work out, and then it's gonna take them a little bit longer than they expected, and that's when you really gotta grind. They haven't built that foundation within themselves to become a core value or a discipline, and then they fall short.
Right.
Yeah. Is that? I mean, do you notice that with the younger generation? You know,
I do.
You know, there's a lot of opportunities now. There's a lot of ways to make money.
Yeah.
Which is cool, which is great. But it's just something I don't see with this generation. That our parents, we had the previous generation had that work ethic, but they lacked the knowledge and the skill to take it to that next level.
Right.
So now we have the knowledge and the skill, all right, and the resources and the internet, but a lot of them don't have the hardcore work ethic our parents did. I think it's a combination of both. But I don't think you can't take it to the next level of just having one or the either. It's like a combination. It's just what I see in today's generation.
100%. And you know, like I mentioned when we first got started, right? It's a recipe, right? Like it's multiple factors of different things, and like we've been saying, hard work is one of those factors, right? But what I think, like, I do a lot of coaching, right? And I coach a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs, and my main thing is I don't want them to think that hard work is it. You know what I'm saying? Like, because it's not, right? Like, working 90 hours a week. I mean, dude, you couldn't pay me $100 million to work 90. Like, I want to be with my family, right? Okay. And so people that have that mindset of like, I just got to work the hardest and I got to work the longest, and I'll be successful. It's like, well, it depends on what you consider success.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. And so again, I think it's a factor. I don't think it's everything.
Okay. Let me ask you this question. This is gonna be like a curveball. Okay. You're a CEO, so you hire people. I know you hire a lot of people. You have two candidates. One, not a lot of skill, not a lot of experience, but is strong, extremely strong work ethic, right? The second candidate, a lot of skill, a lot of talent, a lot of experience. Low work ethic. Who do you pick?
Like when you say low work ethic, like you're saying they're lazy.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't say lazy, but that doesn't really have like they don't like to work hard. Like they're rather they just don't the one person that just comes in every single day and puts in his 100% best effort because that person has the skill necessary. So sometimes you 80% one day, 100% one day, next day it's like 50%.
And you're asking who I would hire.
I'm asking which one would you choose to hire?
The first one, the
first
one with
100% work ethic.
100% work ethic, not very much experience. Now, let me explain a little bit more, right? My favorite part about that equation is the no experience.
Yeah.
Right. That's a blank canvas for me to paint on.
Yeah.
Right. Now, that's an employee. Right. If you're asking me who I think will be more successful and who will start a business the fastest, it's the other one.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. And the reason why I'm saying that is because, like I said, I see myself in the second one.
Yeah.
And so again, as far as an employee goes, who I would hire, it would be the first guy.
The first guy. Okay. All right. I love it. And then I know also on that clip you talked about organization, diligence, prudence, being obsessed. Right. That's like the fact because you said hard work pay off,
man.
Huh?
That was a long time ago clip, man.
Because you said it's hard work. That's only a fraction of the equation, but then you broke it down to organization skills, being diligent, being prudent, and being obsessed. That I guess the equation for hard work to be successful today is a lot different, because back in the day, our parents' time was just hard work. But today, to be successful in modern day 2023, it's about organization skills, diligence, prudence, and being obsessive. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that, just for the viewers out there?
Yeah. So number one is prudence. Prudence to me is my favorite characteristic, business-wise, that somebody could have, right? Because there's a lot of opportunities and a lot of decisions that you need to make. The person that makes that decision the fastest, and the person that will jump on those opportunities the quickest, tend to be the people that are called lucky. Okay. Yeah. When I'm talking about organization, now I'm the least organized person ever. Right. That's why I have an assistant. Right. But when it comes to organization, I believe that in order to reach, again, these are things that I've come up with after meeting with ultra successful people. Right. And one thing about these super successful people is that they're organized. Right. They know what their plan is the night before. Right. They know exactly where, like, they're goal oriented. Yeah. Right. They're mission based. Right. They know exactly what they're chasing. Right. Like, how many people do you know, or for all the viewers, right? Like, how many people, if you were to ask them, hey, how much money do you want to make this year? Or how much money do you want to make next year? And they just give you like what an answer that everybody would give you, 100,000.
Yeah.
Right. But it's like the ultra successful people, man, they've thought it through so much. They know it down to the cent. Yeah. Right. They've envisioned themselves already accomplishing it. Right. And so that's why I believe, prudence, organization, having diligence, right. Being able to, even though you're making decisions quickly, you got to be able to make sure that you're making the right decision. Yeah. Right. And so that's just, again, the thing that we've been talking about this whole entire time. Right. Is I believe that there's multiple different sectors or factors that go into the modern day success that a lot of people overlook. Okay.
All right. No worries. All right. Yeah. I like that clip. It was very interesting. It's always a conversation that I always see, especially with the new wave of entrepreneurs, especially our generation, right? Yeah. It's the definition of what is hard work. It's about working smarter, not harder. So it's a very interesting conversation to have.
Just to elaborate a little bit more, it's like an easy way to understand what I was talking about in that specific clip, right? Is it also comes down to what you consider to be successful. Yeah. Right. Because one person's idea of success could be completely different than my idea of success. Yeah. Right. And when we're talking about monetary success, I think there's two playing fields. Right. There's the playing field of making $100,000. right? I believe that's the hardest playing field. That's the hardest metric to hit, is to make $100,000, right? And the reason why is because you could potentially make $100,000 off of pure hard work. Now, if I mean, you and I come from the door-to-door space, right?
Yeah.
Like, how many people do you and I know have made, you know, 6 figures plus just by knocking doors, right? All you got to do is all you got to do is keep knocking doors until the sun comes down, and then start knocking doors before the sun goes back up.
Yeah.
Right. So I believe there's one playing field, right, where you make $100,000. Like, you can do that based off of just hard work. You don't got to be smart. You don't got to have prudence. You don't got to have diligence. You don't got to be organized. Just go and work hard. You'll make $100,000. But when we're talking about the playing field of making $1 million or more, there's not enough hours in a day for you. I mean, maybe for some people, for some occupations, there are.
Yeah.
I don't think I wouldn't want to do any of those occupations. I don't think there's enough hours in a day where me by myself can go out and make $1 million in 1 year.
Yeah.
Right. Because people that are making $1 million or more, they're thinking differently, right? It's more about like the bigger deals, right? And when you're making bigger deals, it's like, okay, who do I know that can connect me to that person where I can sit down with them and have a conversation about this bigger deal?
Yeah.
Right. It's more thinking and less hard work.
Yeah.
Right. And so again, there's two different playing fields. Now, is one success better than the other success? I don't think so. It's just whatever someone considers to be success.
Yeah. Now, that's a great point. Yeah, it depends on your definition of what success is, right? For some people, 100,000, that's your definition of success. That gives you the quality of life that you're looking for your family, right?
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. But if you're gonna take it to become that 1%, you know, making about $1 million a year, then that's a whole nother level. And and I just thought about it right now. Balafessa just shared it on the live chat. Is what you here is not gonna get you there. So what you did to make it to this level, you can't. If you want to get to the level, the next level, you can't do the same thing you got here. So
100%.
You gotta change it and elevate. So
there's this quote that I like. It came from Ed Milet, and he always says, the next level will demand the old you.
Yeah, man, that's facts right there, man. Dropping bombs, dropping gems.
I'm just kidding. That wasn't even my quote.
yeah, man, that's great. But but let's get right into it. You know, you're in the car rental business. I'm excited to hear what the car rental business is all about. For all of my live viewers watching this right now, if you're looking for different opportunity, this is an opportunity for you guys to get into the car rental business. So can you just break down the car rental business? How do you get into it? What do you need to start if you're starting, if you have no experience, no income, and not a lot of skill sets into that industry? So how does somebody get into that industry, and how to get into it and get started?
Yeah. So this isn't my main thing that I do. It was the first thing that I did as a quote unquote entrepreneur, right? This is I started it when I was in college. I mean, dude, I was flat broke in college. I was playing football at the University of Utah, and I just needed to make a little bit of extra money, right? And so I started on this app called TURO, right? A lot of people know what TURO is.
Yeah.
TURO is like the Airbnb for cars, right? It's a peer-to-peer car sharing platform, right? And basically all you got to have is really a car, right? You have a car and you list it on TURO. It allows your peers, you know, whether they're traveling in, whether they're locals, to rent your car, right? What I've found is that, to me, at that point in my life where, you know, I didn't have a lot of time, I was flat broke. Like I'm talking about, I literally had no money in my account.
Yeah.
That was the easiest way to increase my income from making no money every month to making, you know, a couple $1,000s a month, right? And so as far as how you get started, I mean, number one, you have to have a car. Number two, my favorite part about this business is that you can start this. And again, there's not very many businesses out there that are lucrative and that are scalable, that are out there that you can start with no money, right? With TURO, you can 100% leverage your credit. Now, the question is your credit in a good enough position in order for you to leverage your credit, right? And qualify for these auto loans through these lenders, right? But to me, if your credit's in the right spot, right? If you're in, the 700s or so, you can go out and qualify for multiple car loans in one day. For example, I qualified when I was in college. I qualified for 7 cars one day, $0 down. I didn't put no money down as a down payment, right? I didn't even know that was possible, right? Because a lot of us are taught that it's like you gotta put some skin in the game, right? And I remember when I was getting qualified for these cars, they asked me, well, how much money do you want to put down as a down payment? I was like, well, I don't have any money,
Yeah.
right? And they were like, okay, well, we'll just put 0. I'm like, oh shit, I didn't even know you could do that. Ended up getting approved, right?
Can you explain why that happened? Because for most people, they're hearing that like, oh, wait, is that possible? Is that real? Get multiple cars and no down payment. So can you kind of break it down? How was that possible for you to be able to have no money and still get qualified for 7 different cars in the same day?
So I mean, it was simple, man. I had good credit, right?
Okay.
I mean, that's something that I've always had it, right? And at the time, my credit wasn't amazing, right? I think I was like barely in the 700s, right? But I had a car that my dad had given me when I started college. It was like a 2002 Chevy Malibu, old car. And that was the first car that I started to rent out, right? So while I was in college, I mean, I was always at the football facility. I was always at practice and stuff like that. So I never really drove the car. And then so one of my homies from Hawaii, he had called me. He was coming to Utah for a vacation. He calls me up and he's like, dude, do you know anybody that is renting their cars out through TURO?
Yeah.
I'm like, what's TURO?
Yeah.
He's like, bro, you never heard of TURO? TURO's like an enterprise or an Avis or a budget, but it's like you can just rent your car. I'm like, oh, dude, I've heard of TURO. I rent my car out on TURO.
Yeah.
Even though I'd never even heard of TURO, right? Just when he told me, it just gave me the idea.
Yeah.
So after that, I was like, dude, you can rent my car. I have a Chevy Malibu. So I ended up doing research that night. I ended up creating an account on TURO. And when my friend flew in, I rented him out my car, right? And so that's how I got started, right? And so my friend, he had rented my car. I vividly remember this. He rented my car out for 6 days. When my car came back, the rest of the month, my car was booked. Okay, while it was out for 6 days from my friend just taking my car, those 6 days I got more and more bookings back to back. My car was booked the whole entire month. And so I think at that first month I made like $800 or $900, which at the time was a lot of money for me.
A lot of money for a college athlete.
I was balling in college once I got that $800, right? But the way I think, and this is the way I've always thought, was like, if it works, just duplicate it.
Yeah.
Right. And so if I was like, okay, if I can make $800 or $900 a month from this car, like if I want to make like $3,000 a month, I just got to go get 3 or 4 more cars.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And so that's what I did the next month. Literally the next month, I went into the car dealership and I said, hey, like, I'm interested in that car. How do I get it? They're like, okay, well, you're going to fill out this application. We're going to send it into our lender, and then it'll go into underwriting, and then they'll send back an approval or not.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, cool. So, okay, fill out this application. I filled it out. They were like, how much money do you want to put down as a down payment? So I don't have any money anymore. Like, they were like, okay, just put 0. Yeah. So we put 0 down. Anyways, like an hour later, the underwriter responds and said he's been approved for the car. I remember it was a 2019 Mercedes CLA 250. It was like $22,000.
It's a nice car.
It was super nice when I first got it, right? Like, I mean, I've never been in a car like that, right? But it's considered like Mercedes entry-level vehicle. Yeah. Right. And so it's nothing crazy. And that was like my start, right? And so they said, come back in like an hour or 2. We'll get the car detailed, washed up. We'll get the temporary plates on it, and you can take it. I was like, okay, cool. So within that hour or 2, I had walked across the street to the next dealership and did the same thing. Right. And the reason why I could do that, I repeated that process 7 times. Right. I got 7 cars. So finally they denied me. But the reason why that works is because new auto loans or trade lines or, credit cards or whatever, they don't report to your credit report for a 30-day period. Yeah. So while all these lenders are pulling my credit, they're seeing the inquiries, but they're not seeing the loans. Okay. Does that make sense? And so So long story short, I went from having 1 car to 8 cars, and I went from making $800 or $900 to like $5,000 or $6,000.
So you got 8 cars on. Well, you had that 1 car, but you got 7 additional cars on that one day.
On that one day, bro. My biggest problem. So like Mercedes calls me. They're like, "Hey, your car's done, ready to be picked up." So like, I ran back over there to that dealership. I took that back to my apartment. I Ubered back to the next dealership, picked that one up, dropped it off to my apartment. And literally, after I had all my cars, I was taking pictures of it, put it on Turo, and like literally overnight, like most of my cars already had bookings.
Do you remember the other cars? Like what other cars?
Yeah. So I had a Mercedes-Benz CLA 250. I had a
Mhm.
Mercedes-Benz C300. I had a Jeep Wrangler. I had a BMW 3 Series. I had a Toyota Camry. And I believe my 6th and 7th one, they were, oh, I had two, I had 3 Toyota Camrys.
Wow.
Yeah. And so that's when it like really opened my eyes of like,
Yeah.
okay, this is not only easy to launch, not only does it have a low barrier of entry, but it's scalable.
Yeah.
All right, and so for me, when I'm looking into starting new endeavors or new businesses, those are the 2 things that I look for. Is like, what's the barrier of entry, right? How easy it is to get it off the ground. And number 2, how scalable it is. How fast can I take it from making, X amount of dollars to X amount of dollars?
Yeah.
And then number 3 is, okay, now how fast can I automate it? Meaning, how fast can I hire out? Right. And so those are the 3 things that I look for when I'm trying to start, this new venture or this new business.
Yeah. If you don't mind me asking about the numbers, but like what was the average payment that you had to pay for each car? What was the average?
It's like $300 to $500.
Yeah, yeah. And you were
These are all cheap cars, dude. Like
yeah,
literally.
yeah.
So all I remember is when I got started. This was 6 years ago.
Yeah.
When I was buying my first round of cars, all I wanted was cars under $30,000.
Yeah.
That was it. So all my cars that I had were under 30,000.
Yeah.
And so what I've learned in the process is, the higher you go, the more likely they are gonna ask for a down payment.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
Extra
For
down
me,
payment.
So I was trying to keep it low, man, because I didn't have anything.
Yeah, that was smart. That was really strategic as well.
Yeah.
And you went from making $800, $900 a month from that one car, the first one, and then what did you make when you had all your cars working for you?
Literally month number 2, I made $6,000. Well, a little less than $6,000.
That's not bad because 7 cars average about $300, $400 a down payment. That's what, 2,100 you're paying for the average payment for all the cars, and then you take the rest. You take the rest home. That's for almost 4 Gs.
I was balling in college. At least I thought I was.
So right out of college, you went right out of college, and you were making like 4 Gs a month.
Yeah. Well, I mean, no,
6,000, but then you had to pay expenses.
I ended up scaling that thing like crazy, dude.
Yeah.
I went from like my first year, I had 17 cars. My first year of being on Turo, I went to 17 cars, man. Like it was, I went to the next level fast with this one because like I knew it worked.
Yeah. And for everybody that's watching this right now, and they they're hearing this and they're very interested to get in, what's the, I guess, you talked about the pros, but what's the risk or the cons that they have to worry about getting that much cars? These are the things you need to pay attention to.
Yeah. So as far as the business side goes, dude, I've thought about this. I've studied multiple different types of businesses. As far as the risk goes on the business side,
yeah,
there's really not that many risks, right? Because your car is triple covered as far as any damages go. It's covered by your insurance, it's covered by Turo's insurance, and it's covered by the guests who rent your car. It's covered by their insurance, right? And so it's triple covered, right? So if anything were to happen to your car, it's either the guest insurance company is going to have to be responsible for it, or Turo's going to be responsible for it, right, dude? I've had accidents happen to my car where I've profited. I mean, most of my accidents, I usually flip it for a profit. I've made a couple $100. I've made $24,000 off of an accident.
Yeah.
Right. And so as far as the business side goes, there's really not that much things that could go wrong as long as you're taking the proper precautions, like taking the right pictures before and after the trip, right? Making sure everything looks good, right? There's a lot of people that get started with Turo, and when you check your car in, it asks you to take a bunch of photos, right? And I know people who take 3 or 4 pictures, and they kind of get lazy with it, right? For me, I take 50 to 100 pictures inside and outside. I'm taking pictures of every little thing, right? Because if something happens, I have proof that this was the state before it went out, and then this was the state after, right? So that scratch wasn't there, right? This chip on the windshield, it wasn't there.
Okay.
Right? And so I think as long as you're taking the proper precautions, there's really not much things that could happen to you that can go bad. So that's the first thing that people really get worried about is what happens about insurance, what happens about accidents and damages and stuff like that. That's the first thing, right? That's easy. Number two, the other thing that people really worry about is what happens if my car doesn't get booked?
Yeah.
Right. And I'm stuck paying this car payment. Now, that's the thing that I was worried about when I got into this, and that's what most people are worried about, right? And so for me, as long as you know your numbers, right? You know your cost of insurance per car, you know your average maintenance every month, you know what your car notes are, right? You take that combined number and you divide that by 20 days. That's what I do. Right. And so whatever that number is, that's going to tell me what my bottom number is that I can rent my car out for 20 days out of the month in order for me to just break even.
Yeah.
Right. So you identify what your minimum number is, and then you have to go on Turo. It's called market research. You do a little bit of market research and you find the exact car that's being rented out on Turo, and you find out what they're charging. Now that's your maximum number. So you have a max and you have a minimum.
Okay.
Right. And so you fluctuate your numbers depending on how busy it is. Right. If my rule of thumb is if my cars are sitting in my warehouse for longer than 3 days, that means I got to bring my price down a little bit more.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. And so I know I have that wiggle room between my maximum and my minimum.
Yeah.
Right. Worst case scenario, I have to drop it all the way down and just break even.
Yeah.
Okay. But all I know is I'm not getting stuck paying that car note.
That's true. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so as long as you know your numbers, right? The issue is, number one, people just don't know their numbers. Number two is people get greedy. People think that, no, I believe my car is worth charging this. And it's like, although you believe your car is worth charging that,
but the market is not saying that. But the market is not
you know what I'm saying? Yeah, exactly. And so you got to go with the market, right? Turo has all these algorithms that will help you with that.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing that people, I guess, overlook is when you're applying for all these car loans under your personal name. This is something that I had to go through.
Yeah.
It affects your debt to income ratio. So when it came time for me to go out and purchase my house,
yeah,
I had too much debt.
Got you.
So I had to learn how to refinance all my vehicles to my business name. Right. And so as long as you know how to overcome those three obstacles, dude, not only are you going to be fine, you're going to absolutely crush it in this business.
Yeah.
It's the easiest business to start, dude.
Also, is it, because I've never been on Turo, so I don't know this, but I guess, do you get more bookings from like a $30,000 car? So say if they want to get a higher quality car, a luxury car, it's a lot harder to get bookings for that? Or is like, have you looked this, okay, this types of car, the ones that get the most booking, it was this 30,000 Honda is the ones that people always book. So if you choose to go a high quality car, is it harder to get people to purchase a high quality car? Because I can assume that if you have a $80,000 car, $100,000 car, you're gonna have to increase the price a lot more. So is it harder to get people to book a more luxury vehicle, or just stick to the $30,000 cars that you purchased the first time when you bought your first?
No, dude.
Vehicles?
Now all my whole fleet is all luxury vehicles, dude. I got a couple G-Wagons. I got Range Rovers. I have a couple Lamborghinis, dude. Like I have different types of cars, but I also have the economy type of cars too. And so basically, you gotta identify what audience.
Audience.
Targeting, right?
Yeah.
Because there's different types of audience, right? There's the big families that like to go on road trips with their family, right? So they're gonna be looking for a minivan. They're gonna be looking for a Suburban. They're looking for 8 seats, right? But then there's the girls that go on girls trips.
Yeah.
Right. They want to get their nails done and they want to hold their nails up to the steering wheel and take a picture with the Mercedes logo in the background.
Yep.
Right. There's the guys that go on bachelor's parties and they want to go to the club in an Audi or a BMW.
Yeah.
Right. Or you get people that get married here in Utah and the husband wants to rent a G-Wagon to pull up to their wedding.
Yeah.
Right. And so there's different types of crowds. So getting started, you have to cater to one crowd.
Yeah.
Right. As you scale, you start diversifying your fleet and target as much crowds as you can. Right. And so as to answer your question, right, there's really no better car than the other car.
Yeah.
Right. Like I said, as long as you know your numbers, right? So the reason why I prefer luxury cars is because they're easier to sell. They tend to hold their value a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Right. And the biggest part about this business is knowing when to get out of a car and avoid too much negative equity.
Yeah.
Right. Because you don't want to owe $20,000 left on a car, but your car's only worth $10,000. Right. So now you have a deficiency of $10,000 that you still owe back to the bank.
Yeah.
Right. And so I prefer the luxury, the Mercedes, the BMWs, the Audis, the Lexuses, the, you know, stuff like that. And the reason why is because as long as you can purchase it at the right point, and then you can get rid of it at another point, that's the right point. Sometimes you'll lose like a couple $1,000. Sometimes they'll break even, and sometimes you'll even make a profit.
Yeah.
Right. And let me tell you what I mean. So they always say your car depreciates. A brand new car, it depreciates 20% as soon as you drive it off the lot. Right? How many times have we heard that?
Yeah.
Right. What no one talks about is it depreciates like 75% once it hits a certain mileage point. Right, depending on the car, right? Like a Toyota, it depreciates 75% once it hits about 80,000 miles.
80,000 miles. Okay.
So on that first dip, when it dips 20%, that's when you buy on the bottom of that dip, and then you sell when it dips down like dramatically.
Oh, okay.
Right. So I'm recycling through cars every year or two.
So you want to sell it before it dips the second time? Where you lose. So, okay, got you.
Yeah, and so that way, you know, heaven forbid you lose a couple $1,000. At least you're not losing $10,000, $20,000 because you decided to hold on to the car for too long.
Okay.
Right, but like I had a Corvette, those new Corvette Stingrays. That was like my first expensive car I ever purchased, and I had purchased it for $85,000. Once the market got crazy from COVID. Yeah. 2 years later, I put 17,000 miles on it. I had resold it for $93,000. So I actually made a profit.
Yeah.
From driving that car around for 2 years, right? And so it's all about buying the car at the right time and getting rid of it at the right time.
Yeah. And does it also depend on the city where you live in? So say if you live in a nice city, you can diversify your vehicles because you have the market to buy all types of cars. But if say you the middle of nowhere, small town, you probably don't want to get any luxury vehicles.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
You gotta be able to stick with the market, right? Like I have some students in Idaho and Wyoming. Yeah. They're absolutely crushing it, but they gotta have all-wheel drive cars. They gotta have Jeeps, right? Yeah. They gotta cater to the families that are going to Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Yeah. Right. And so as long as you know what like the tourist attractions are in Vegas, right? Go get a Corvette, go get a Charger, go get a Challenger. Vegas, of course. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But the cars that do well in Vegas are not the cars that do well in Utah or Idaho.
Yeah. Okay. All right, man. So man, that's I was thinking about the the first 7 cars that you had, where did you park all those cars? I was just wondering, like
bro.
Where did you park all those cars?
My apartment they almost kicked me out because I was taking up all the guest parking, bro. Like, dude, I was parking like my cars everywhere, dude. And then it got to the point, bro, where I was leaving my cars at like a local Walmart, and like I was just leaving in their parking lot, like I would leave it in the back of the parking lot, and I would have my guests go there to pick up the cars, right? Because my apartment was like on my back, bro. And so I mean, that's something that you just got to figure out. It's something that shouldn't stop you from getting into it.
Yeah.
And again, the goal is those cars shouldn't be at your house anyways.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like they should be rented out, right? And so like right now I'm managing 73 cars on Turo. There's 3 that are available right now.
Yeah. And then as far as the customers that out there, do you have any crazy stories with dealing with certain customers with your your car coming back and it's looks crazy compared to when you found it?
Man, bro, I've had everything you can think of. It's happened to me, man. I've had my car stolen. I've had my car come back with no bumper. I've had chalk, like little kids drawing with chalk, like the chalk you write on like this concrete. People were writing that on, like kids were writing on the back seat of my cars with the chalk, bro. Like I've had weed smoked in my car, like it smelled like they were like hot boxing that thing, man. Like I've had everything happen to me, dude. But it's like it's a part of the business.
Yeah. I can assume if you have the luxury vehicles, if you're going to like Vegas or something, you may have to buy a black light and just double check.
But again, that's another reason why I like the luxury vehicles, because at least you're catering to a group of people, a group of customers that appreciate cars.
Yeah, that's true.
Right, you get a better quality customer.
Yeah.
Right, when I was renting out my 2002 Chevy Malibu, dude, I had like random crazy looking people renting that car because it was cheap.
Yeah. Can you also talk about the effect? How that changed your social life? Because you had 7 cars. People looking at you, man, this guy got 7 cars, got 8 cars.
yeah.
Can you talk about the difference, like how that impacted you socially?
It still impacted me a lot, man. A lot of people, they come to my office and they see, 50 plus cars parked in my warehouse, and they're like, it helped with the brand. It helped with me socially. A lot of people, like, even when I didn't have it going on, people thought I had it going on.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so it helped, I guess there were good and bad things, right? There were a lot of people that try to, take advantage of it. And there's a lot of people that were like, oh, we came up. But then it's like, dude, I've had crazy ups where I've been up, like super successful. And I've had crazy downs, man, where I've been like fell in that life horribly, right? And like, and so I think it definitely portrayed me to be, a super successful entrepreneur, even though I didn't consider myself to be a crazy successful entrepreneur at the time.
Yeah.
But it did help me transition into business, right? Because as far as building my brand online, cars help tremendously.
So how many cars do you have now?
So personally, I have 33.
Whew.
And then I'm managing 73. So it's called co-hosting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, you went from 1 car to 8 cars to now almost 100 cars combined. Man, that's
it's good, man. And again, I think I've put on all those cars, and I've purchased way more cars than the cars that I have now. Like I said, I recycle through cars every year or two, and I think out of all those cars, I bought my 2 personal cars. I paid for those. I paid for those cash, but as far as the other cars, I think I put a down payment down on like 3 of them.
Yeah.
All the rest of my cars, $0 down.
Man. So what's your? I saw your post on IG, but I want to ask you now. I don't know if that's an old one got yet that you haven't got yet. That's down the line. Because I know the last post I saw was your dream car was your Lamborghini. How was that word? Urus. There we go. Urus.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you got that, but is it still the
I got
same?
2 of those now. My dream car is it's been a Rolls Royce Cullinan. That's like my dream personal car.
Dream personal car. Okay.
And there's been multiple times where I've come close to purchasing it, but I made a promise with myself like 3 years ago that I wouldn't purchase that car until I built my dream house. Like that, like me building. My wife and I, we have this idea of this type of house we want, and once that's built, my gift to myself is going to be that car.
Man, that's the best gift, right? Give it to yourself.
So I'm working towards that. But there's been a couple times, dude, I've even gone and test driven them, and like I've been so close to pulling the trigger on one, bro.
Yeah, man, that's nice, man. But hey, but shout out to you and prioritizing, because I know you have a family, beautiful family, so you gotta get the family house first, take care of the family, and then you're gonna get that car. Okay. Oh man, it just fires me up just listening to that. I do want to ask you a question because you brought up some great content. I think this is valuable information for people that are watching this right now. You talked about how to get an auto loan as an LLC, right? Just getting I think you made some content about that. How to apply for an auto loan as a business instead of a personal. So for somebody that's watching this right now, like how can they start that process, and what's the benefit of that?
Yeah, so there's a ton of benefits as far as. Sorry, are you able to hear me? I just barely swapped out.
Yes.
Okay, cool. There's a ton of benefits to getting different types of financing. Whether it be houses or cars or credit cards under your business, right?
Yeah.
Number one is it keeps your personal credit. It keeps your personal credit free and clear for other endeavors that you may want to go down, right? Like real estate. right? There's if you want to build your forever home, or if you want to go buy a rental property, right? They look into your personal credit, right? And if you have, $3 million in debt on your personal credit, that may affect your chances of being qualified or approved for your house, right? And
Okay.
so moving that debt over from personal to business now keeps you free and clear to go out and get approved for, a mortgage loan, or, a personal loan or something like that, right? And
Yeah.
so that's the biggest benefit, as far as applying for it, under your business loan, right? Another benefit is it's called asset protection, right? So if something were to happen, and this is the one of the main things of why someone needs an LLC,
Yeah.
especially if you're running a side hustle, if you're running a business, whatever it is, if you have that barricaded within an LLC, and something were to happen to one of your customers or your employees, if it's barricaded within an LLC, they can only come after legally what's barricaded within that LLC.
Yeah.
Right. But if it's under your personal name, now you personally assume all that liability.
A liability and risk. Yeah.
Right. And so if something were to happen to a customer or an employee, and you're assuming it personally, now they could legally come after you and all the assets that are under your name.
Yeah.
Right. And so asset protection is one thing. Business credit is another thing of why you should be applying for it under your LLC name. As far as how to do it, number one, if it's your first, so basically this is basics 101, right? When you open up a new LLC and an EIN number, essentially the way I look at it is you're creating a new person, right? The LLC name is the person's name,
Yeah.
and the EIN is the person's social security number.
Yeah.
Right. And so the EIN is supposed to act as another social security number. And so when you go and go out and apply for an auto loan under your business, and you've never done it before, essentially what it is your business is considered a first-time car buyer.
Yeah.
Right. And so as far as getting a car under your business name for the very first time, you typically have to personally guarantee it with your personal name. So in simple terms, what that means is you're essentially applying for the car under your business, and then you're co-signing with your personal name.
Okay.
Right. And the reason why you would need a co-sign, right, is because one, that business is too new, so it doesn't have enough history, and that business isn't generating enough income. So you would need to co-sign, or the proper term is personal guarantee it, so that you can allow your business to leverage your credit and your income.
Okay.
So after you've done that with your first one or two cars, now you can show the lenders that your business is responsible to make the payments. And now your business is bringing in more revenue. Then on your third or fourth or fifth car, then you can go and get approved for those cars explicitly under your business name.
Okay. All right.
So in the beginning, you would have to personally guarantee it.
Personally guarantee it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then also one last question about the auto loan. Is there any auto loan hacks that you know? Because I saw some content saying that the best you shouldn't let the car dealership finance your car. You should always get outside third party financing.
Oh yeah,
that's a better deal. So so if there's anybody here what's like they want to buy their first car, they don't want to start a business, they just want to get a car. What's the best way for them to get the best deal for themselves? And the best way to do it?
So basically you got to understand what these dealerships are doing, right? So these dealerships, when you fill out a credit application, the credit application is the same credit application you would fill out at your bank, UCCU, Chase, Bank of America, whatever. It's the same application, right? When you're filling it out at the car dealership, now the car dealership is another party. They're acting as the middleman between you and the actual lender. And by law, depending on the state, the car dealership can typically add, they call it points. They can add 1 or 2% on top of the interest rate that the bank approved, right? And so if the bank approves you for a you know, a 6% interest rate on your auto loan,
Yeah.
the dealership can say, hey, the bank approved you for 6.2%.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
And so now you're paying a little bit of extra, and that additional 2%, that additional 0.2%, that's going to the dealership.
Okay. Okay.
Right. And so where you save money is you remove the middleman.
Yeah.
And you go directly to the lender. Now, the best lender to go to, a lot of people ask me this, like, hey, what's your recommended auto loan lender that I should go to?
Yeah.
It's the whatever institution or credit union that you have a relationship with. Right? It's if you've been banking with a specific credit union for 6 years, they're going to give you the best interest rate because you have a relationship with them.
Yeah.
And you have money flowing in and out of that account.
Okay.
Right. So there's trust there. There's trust that one, the lender's basically saying, one, you've been a client of ours for 6 years.
Yeah.
And number two, we see your deposits every 2 weeks from your job.
Yeah.
Right. And so you're more likely to be approved. And that's the second thing. Number three is these car dealerships by law can send your credit report out to 21 different lenders from one application. That means you have 21 inquiries,
yeah.
credit pulls, pulling your credit report. And you're only going to pick one of them. But that means you have 20 inquiries for no reason.
And that affects the credit score.
It does, right?
Yeah.
And so when you go directly through your credit union, that's only one pull.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? And so I always say go directly to the lender.
And even if a customer doesn't have, say they bank with the prominent banks, but they never had a credit union bank account, if they just go and apply that same day, even if they don't have a relationship, does that still work? Yeah,
I mean, number one, it doesn't necessarily need to be a credit union. I know I'm just saying credit union, but you can go and apply if you bank with Chase. Go apply through Chase.
Oh, okay.
Right? But again, you don't necessarily need to have a relationship with the bank. It just helps having a relationship with the bank, right?
Yeah.
Like I have auto loans through random credit unions, like in Oregon, and I've never even been to Oregon, right? It just helps not having to. The more middlemen there are in the deal, the more money you're going to have to pay.
Oh, okay. So it doesn't hurt to try. So even if I bank with Chase, I should just go to a local credit union here and just apply
100%. 100%. Walk in, you say, hey, I'm looking for a car. It's $35,000. Can you guys give me a loan? They're going to have you fill out the same credit application. You're going to submit it to the bank. It's going to go into the underwriting process.
Okay.
And they're going to get back to you in a couple of hours saying whether or not you've been approved.
Okay. All right, man. Yeah, that's a hack right there, man. That's information that you never hear from anybody.
Bro, but it's the most simple thing, bro. And like all my students, when I go with them to the banks or when I go with them to the dealerships, after we leave, they're like, that was so insane how easy that is.
Yeah.
Because it really is that easy.
And also, does the car dealership make more money if you pay more on the down payment? Say if you finance through them, so that's why they encourage you to put more down, right? Because that's how that makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah. So hey, it's a business at the end of the day. Everybody's trying to make their money.
They make money on the down payment and they make money on your monthly payments based on your interest rate.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm definitely, when I get my next car, I'm definitely not. Every car I've had in the past, I financed it through the car dealership. You know.
Yeah, and again, so like the people that need to be going to the dealership are the people that are not too confident with their credit.
Yeah.
Right. Like if you're not very confident that you might not get approved, then maybe go to the dealership and have them. It's called a shotgun. Have them shotgun your credit out to multiple different lenders, and now you just cross your fingers and hope that one says yes. Right. But if you're confident in your credit score, and you're confident that you can walk into any bank and ask them for a loan and they would say yes, there's no reason to go through a dealership.
Yeah. Okay. So if you're not confident, if you have a low credit score, not confident in the score, then go with the dealership. But if you have a relationship with the bank, you make good income, it's steady, good credit, then just go find a third party or go with your own bank.
Exactly.
Okay. Man, it's a E or be eating world out there, man.
It is, man. They don't teach this stuff in school, man.
I know, they don't teach this financial literacy, man. So this is good good stuff. Thank you for sharing this. But I do want to pivot, and I see that you're part of the Omega. I saw that on your intro. I see a lot of videos you're talking about the Omega. I'm just curious what that is, and if you want to share that for everybody out
No,
there.
for sure. Yeah. So I'm actually the owner of Omega Financial.
Yeah.
It's in two separate companies. Omega Financial is the parent company, and Omega Automations is the sister company. It's my pride and joy, man. It's my I employ over 86 employees through
Yeah.
Omega Financial. We help online businesses, right? Whether it be e-commerce, Amazon FBA, Walmart automation, Shopify, whatever it is, we help online businesses with ads, fulfillment, right, where we store their products in our warehouses here in Utah.
Yeah.
That's what Omega Financial is. That's been, I started that 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, it's an online, basically. It's a company where we provide the resources, the fulfillment, the warehousing, the analytics side of helping online businesses.
Yeah. Do you ever self-reflect? Because you had
All the
journey.
time.
Yeah, self-reflect, and because you started out of college with barely nothing, and now you have your own company, right? You have multiple employees. You have almost 100 cars. Do you is it every day? How often do you self-reflect? Well, just to look back at how far you've come in your journey.
I mean, I think it goes both ways. I self-reflect on how far I've come, but I also reflect on the things that I could do better. I think that's where I self-reflect the most.
Yeah.
They always say the worst critic is yourself, and that's so true. At least it is for me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm someone that really is. I'm pretty hard on myself.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, as far as self-reflect goes, dude, and self-assessment, reevaluation, I do that. I do that daily.
Daily. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna take a flashback into your past. I want to take a flashback to your when you were still playing football, and I think this goes to a lot, especially because I know you're Pacific Islander. I think this is going to tie into our Pacific Islanders, because you made a post saying that what was the hardest conversation that you ever had to have with yourself, and you were saying that because you did play college football, and you mentioned that at one point of your life, you thought that the only avenue for you to reach success was to make it to the league, or to the NFL. All right, if you're watching this from a different country. So I can relate because I went through that same process. I played ball for a small time D1 AA school in Virginia. But I completely understood that when you posted it, when I read that, I was like, I know exactly how that feels as a Pacific Islander, especially when you played football for a long time. You think that's your ticket out, that's your way to be successful. And of course, as all Pacific Islanders, it's a stereotype, right? The only way we can be successful is through sports. But yeah, can you talk about that? Can you talk about that hard conversation you have to make, and finally accept that reality, which a lot of people have to do, especially if you're playing collegiate sports. You have to accept that you're not going to make it professionally, and you have to realize that there's a different journey that you have to make, and it's not going to be through sports.
Yeah, so I'm happy you asked that, and I like to preface this with I'm grateful for how everything turned out.
Yeah.
Right, and I believe this was how it was supposed to turn out.
Yeah.
So my college career, like you were saying, I mean, I couldn't conceive anything else but playing professional football.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, that was all I could think about. I lived and breathed football.
Yep.
Right, and I come from a family of boys where all my brothers played Division I football. Right, and it was just the standard, right? It was the expectation to go out and get an education and play college football with the hopes and dreams to make it to play in the NFL.
Yeah.
Sorry. Oh, there you go. I was frozen. I didn't know if you were frozen.
Oh, okay. You're good. You're good.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I mean, it was just the standard in my family, right? It was what we were supposed to do. And I ended up going, chasing my dream. I played Division I football at the University of Utah.
Yeah.
And I was there for 2 years. And long story short, after my spring ball game, I ended up breaking my ankle. And for those of you guys who know sports, right, after spring ball, you head into fall camp.
Yeah.
Right. Fall camp is like where you cross your T's and you dot your I's and you get ready to head into the season. And one thing I learned is that there's a specific amount of slots that are open for this. And after our spring game, we had one-on-one interviews with our position coaches, and my position coach had met with me, and he basically said, "Hey, Dallin, because of your injury and other things, we don't have a slot open for you heading into fall camp."
Yeah.
Right. Like, dude, imagine what that's like, man. After you devoted your whole entire freaking life to this sport, and then someone looking you in your face and telling you that. Right. And so, that was basically the conversation that I had to have with myself. And he tried to make it all sound nice and be like, you're the first person on IR, which stands for injury reserve, right? You're the first person that we're going to call if someone gets hurt, or if someone doesn't have good grades or whatever. You're the first person we're going to call, right? But dude, I knew I wasn't going to get that call.
Yeah.
Right. And so I had to have a tough conversation with myself on, okay, do I transfer? Do I cross my fingers and hope that he calls, or do I continue with my life? Right. And I think in some instances, you won't hear me saying this often, but I think in some instances, the best ability to have is knowing when to quit. Yeah. Right. And at that time, it was the hardest thing for me to do, right? Because that's all I knew. Yeah. Right. That was like my only, like you said, that was my ticket out. Right. Yeah. That was my only way up. Right. And so, I got advice from my mother, and it was just to continue and trust God that, God had a plan for me, and based on the abilities and talents that God had given me, that he was going to provide a way. Right. And that's what, started into all this, man, all the entrepreneur stuff, the business stuff. That's what opened that door, man. So it's, again, super grateful for it. It's definitely, I definitely learned that your dreams don't always show up in the packages that you think they're going to show up in. Yeah. Right. And so as long as you have an open mind and an open heart, and you are willing to look at those opportunities in a way of like, okay, that could be what I'm actually supposed to be doing. Yeah. Right. Because a lot of people, they can't give up the sports, man. A lot of people, they're still chasing it. I know a couple friends right now that's, hey man, you got to hang up the cleats, man. You got to hang up the cleats. Man, I know so many people man. You're in your 30s, bro. And again, man, I'm not gonna say I wasn't grateful for the experience, man. Like, I was definitely grateful for the experience to try to play collegiately, to try to chase the dream that I thought I once had. Yeah. But I mean, very grateful for how it all turned out. But yeah, you definitely got to know when to give it up, man. Yeah. I know. It's really hard because, people that have never been a college athlete, or they never played sports, they just don't understand the dedication, especially when you're in college. Like you said, we literally live, eat, breathe football. It's all we do all day, every single day. And to finally just to switch that, to change that you got to stop living your lifestyle that way and try something else. It's really scary going to the unknown. It is. It took me 3 months. Yeah, the uncharted territory. Did you have to go through a period of like a couple of weeks or a couple of months that you had to go through it? Like for me, it was about 3 months. When my football season ended, for 3 months, I just was idle. Like, I didn't want to do anything.
it was
Oh, yeah.
having that tough conversation. I wasn't motivated to do anything, but then after 3 months, I just kind of had to like, had the same hard conversation for myself, be realistic, understand life goes on, and I got bills to pay, so I got to go out there.
That's what I was gonna
Go to
say,
work.
man. Like, yeah, it was tough when it happened, and I was really depressed. But at the same time, man, I had bills, dude. I had to pay for stuff, and so I got to work pretty quickly, and thankfully, moving into business, man, I treated it just like sports, man. And so it was an easy transition. I was able to still be competitive. I was able to still be somewhat of a leader. And so the transition from athletics to entrepreneurship, it was smooth, man.
I mean, what do you want to say to all the Pacific Islanders out there? Because I'm a big analytics guy, I'm a big numbers guy. We all understand it's only a small percentage of athletes that go and get drafted and make it to the NFL. So, as much as I see all these kids with the dreams, I love the passion, but the brutal reality is, like, I think what's the percentage? Less than 1%.
Less than 1%, yeah.
Yeah, less than 1% makes it to the league. So 99% of everybody that's playing sports right now is not going to make it. So what's your word to all the any young Pacific athlete right now? Just pursuing their goals and dreams. Should they just be all invested and go all in, or
I mean,
because I do hear I do hear different takes. Get your education first, and then pursue your dream. I heard it from different people. I'm interested to hear your perspective, what they say.
Definitely seize the moment, right? Like, if you're gonna go all in with chasing athletics, and chase it, right? But eventually, and this would be my message, eventually, everyone must start their life.
Yeah.
Right? Whether it be before college, whether it be in the middle of college, whether it be after college, or whether it be after the NFL. Eventually, you got to start your life. I mean, whether or not you want to start a family, whether or not you want to get a job, eventually it's going to happen. Right? Yeah. And do you want that start? Do you want that beginning to be when you're 30?
Yeah.
Or do you want that start to be when you're 20, 21?
Yeah.
Right. And have that competitive advantage. And like you said, I'm a very analytical person too. I'm a numbers guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the chances of, I don't know, if we're talking about monetary success.
Yeah.
Okay. There's different types of success, right? If we're talking about monetary success, if we grow up, especially as Pacific Islanders, we grow up idolizing these athletes.
Yeah.
If you break that down, this is how oddly I think. If you break down these athletes that you idolize, that you know their stats, you know who they're playing every week. If you break it down, who are they working for?
Yeah.
The person that owns their team.
Yeah.
Now, let me give you an example. Luka Doncic.
Yeah.
Played for the Mavs.
Mm-hmm.
He's the highest paid person on the Mavs.
Yeah.
Right? He makes about $70 million a year. That's his contract.
Yeah.
His boss, the owner of the Dallas Mavs, his name is Mark Cuban. He's on like Shark Tank and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He makes $7 billion a year.
Yeah.
From the Mavs.
Yeah.
And so when you look at it in that perspective, we don't grow up idolizing Mark Cuban. We grow up idolizing people like Luka Doncic.
Luka Doncic, yeah.
Right? But if you ask yourselves, what's the reality, or what's easier? What are my odds? Are my odds greater to become a Mark Cuban, or are my odds greater to become a Luka Doncic?
Yeah.
Your odds are greater becoming Mark Cuban. You don't have to be born with freakishly long arms.
Yeah.
You don't have to jump out of the roof. You don't have to have an insane form of shot. You don't have to be on the right basketball team. You don't have to go through all these years of college. It's a lot easier to become a Mark Cuban who makes $7 billion a year than it is to become a Luka Doncic who works for that guy,
Mark Cuban,
making $70 million a year.
Man, that's a really good way to see it. Look at it. That's a great perspective.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Dude, Mark Cuban, if you look at the guy, he's not tall. He's not muscular. He doesn't look abnormal.
Yeah.
Right. In fact, he looks really normal. right? And so if you're chasing monetary success, which if you're a Pacific Islander and you're trying to play professionally, you're chasing the monetary success. You're
Yeah.
chasing the status.
Yeah.
Right now, when you're a Mark Cuban, when you own a professional team, you may not have the status, but you have the monetary side of success.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, it's your percentage of being a Mark Cuban, or your odds of being a Mark Cuban, are a lot greater.
Yeah, a lot greater than
being a Luka Doncic, unless you're born 6'8" or 6'9".
Yeah, yeah. Unless you're a freakish athlete, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
Unless you're a monster. Yeah.
And that's why I always say, bro, people underlook, man. And I hope to raise my kids in a way that they're looking up to the right people.
Yeah.
Right. Because we grow up aspiring people that are employees for other people.
Yeah.
These people that we aspire to be like, these people that we emulate.
Yeah.
They work for the entrepreneurs.
No, that's absolutely true. And sometimes we don't really see the full journey, because sometimes we see, oh man, I didn't make it to the NFL. And then we look at everybody that made it to the NFL. But if you look at the numbers, I'm the same way, but the average NFL career is 6 years. So
yeah,
even
I even think in some stats it's even less than that.
Maybe even 11. I mean, that's the last time I checked, but that was years ago, so it might be less now.
I think it's 3 now.
Yeah, and then I think the average salary of the bare minimum of the NFL, I believe, is like what, half a mil, 500,000, something like that. Is that the average?
Right.
Is that the bare minimum? And it's a lot higher.
I think it's the average. It's not the bare minimum. It's the average for sure.
Yeah, the average, right?
Yeah.
So even the guys who make it to the NFL, and like you mentioned before, they play for 6 or less years, and then once they're done playing ball, they still have to restart their whole life 5 years later from the starting point where you had to restart. So you have 5 years ahead, more time from that person to figure out what you want to do.
Dude, some of my students that I'm coaching right now are free agents in the NFL.
Yeah, free agents.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like they've gone through 5-6 years of college, right? They're waiting to be picked up by a team, and they're coming to me to help them out. And again, not to toot my own horn, I'm just saying, eventually you got to start.
But think about it. The guy that made it to the NFL is coming to you that didn't make it for help. We just, the one that didn't make it, right?
Yeah.
So it's like the Mark Cuban and the Luka Doncic. And
well, I'm not saying I'm anywhere near Mark Cuban.
No. I'm just saying, the guy that went to the league, because that's our dream, right? To make it to the league.
Right.
No, he's the one coming to you for help and advice for the next step of their life, right? So I think it's really important to give that perspective. And I think sometimes when we're really young and we aspire to be NFL, we think it's once you make it, then it's smooth sailing. Your life is figured out, but we don't know like the numbers and the reality of it.
Oh yeah.
So, and I think Joe just posted on the live chat, the average NFL length career is like 3.3 years on the live chat. Yeah,
that's right.
So man, that's last time I checked was like 5 to 6. Now,
bro, I'm telling you, bro, I'm a numbers guy, dude.
Yeah.
Like I look at these things all the time, man. I'm obsessed with them.
So that for me, if it's 3 years now, that's how I know it's even more competitive now. Mm-hmm. That's dropped from 5 to 6 to 3. It's so competitive. That's the length of you to average. And so for all the guys right now that need to hang up the cleats, this little session for the last 5 minutes, you guys need to listen. Listen to what we just said the last 5 minutes. hang up those cleats and go book a session with Dallin so you can figure out the next phase.
Hey, you're welcome. You're welcome to hit me up.
Oh man. But also, I do want to pivot. Also, I think there's something that was really impactful for me. If you can talk about this, but you also shared this on your IG, how you never shared this with anybody, but you shared it on IG, of the story of you that you wanted to start your business venture, and then you were trying to save up to get married, and then you told your wife about your business venture. And it was going to evolve. It was going to require a lot of capital that you have to invest. And if it doesn't work out, life is going to be hard. And you're trying to start a family. You're about to get married. You're saving up. And how hard? Man, how hard was that? We always hear about the entrepreneurs, right? it's a lot of risk, but big risk comes big reward. That's why that the people. That's why I believe. That's why I believe entrepreneurs get paid the way they get paid. Is because they take the risk. A lot of people don't like wealthy people, and they think they're overpaid. Hey, if the market tells you how much you're worth. So if the market can pay you that much, go out there and work for it. If you're willing to take the risk, that's why I always respect and believe that the entrepreneurs and the business owners should always get paid the most. But how hard was that for you? Can you just talk a little about that, about having that hard conversation? You're starting a family, you're about to get married, you're trying to save up for a house, and you found this. You want to invest into a business venture, and you're telling your wife, babe, if we make it, but if we don't make it, damn, it's gonna be hard for us. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, I've just a background of myself. I've never really been good with money. Like I'll give all my money away to people. Like I'll spend it on, bunch of food and stupid stuff, right? And
you sound like a Pacific Islander.
that's how I am, man. And, I've always been like that. I still am. I'm a little bit better now, but when I come from the door-to-door space. I did 2 years in the door-to-door space, made the most money I've ever thought of making when I was doing door-to-door. At the time, I had made my first 6 figures, which at the time was a huge accomplishment. And being immature and in finances and stuff like that, I'm also someone that likes to go extra and go above and beyond. And so for my wedding, I had taken all the money that I had made from doing door-to-door, and I had bought my wife a Range Rover for our wedding. I paid it cash, and paid for the wedding. And by that time, I saw how quickly $100,000 really fades away.
Yeah.
And we had we had some good money saved up, and before our wedding, I had told my wife that I got approached with an opportunity to invest into this business venture, and that it was going to cost all of our money that we had saved up.
Yeah.
And my wife was like, okay, cool. And I was like, are you sure? Like, I wasn't expecting that. And then I got nervous because she was so cool with it, right? And I had told her, I'm like, well, what if it flops?
Yeah.
And she this is why I knew she was the one. She looked at me and she told me, then we gather ourselves and we have to rebuild again. I was like, done. So I invested into it, and long story short, it flopped, dude. Lost us all of our money.
Yeah.
That was, dude. Like I said, man, I've started multiple businesses that have failed miserably, and I've started businesses that are doing plus $50 million a year in revenue. And so it's just a part of the game, man.
Yeah, man. No hesitation, huh? No hesitation. You just say,
dude, I never hesitate, man. But my wife, she just tends to trust me when it comes to making those types of decisions.
Yeah. And
like I said, I've never really been good with money anyways. And so when that opportunity came, and I just threw all my money at it.
Yeah, man. Man, that's a beautiful story, but not only on the process of things you have to go through as an entrepreneur, but also why it's important to choose the right partner, right?
For sure.
For a lot of guys out there, finding the right one. And yeah, man. She just, when I said hesitation, I was talking about her. She didn't even hesitate when you told her.
Oh yeah, no, bro. She didn't even hesitate. And what was even crazier too is after we lost all that money, we were so broke, bro. I became a door dasher in a Range Rover. I was driving a Range Rover, dropping off meals to people's houses, bro. And just to make our rent,
right? To survive, right?
Yeah, and dude, my wife was right there in the passenger seat. She got serious FOMO, right? And so she was right there in the passenger seat. She was a full-time college student at the time.
Yeah.
Pregnant at the time. And so she's sitting in the passenger seat. It's like 9, 10 o'clock at night. Yeah. I'm dropping off Chick-fil-A and Wendy's and stuff. And she's in the passenger seat connecting to the hotspot she's doing her homework online, bro. Like, dude, that's what we were doing, trying to pay our rent.
Man. Wow, man.
So dude, that's why I'm saying, man, there's a lot of people think I got it going on, man. They see the cars, they see, like all the fancy stuff that I do, and do what people don't understand is, dude, I'm a college dropout. I got cut from the football team, man. I was a DoorDash driver. I mean, dude, it doesn't get more emasculating than that.
Yeah, that's true. No, because I always say, people always see the results, but they never see the process, right?
Right.
So they all like now social media. Social media is always the highlights of your life, but nobody really sees like the things that you go through behind closed doors. So but that's why for me, when I see people are successful, I don't even care about the results of they have. I'm more for me, the way my mind works is I'm more interested in their process. Like, how did they get there, right? Because that's where you find all the values and the lessons that of how they've got the results. But a lot of people we celebrate and we fantasize about the results of how they're currently living right now. But my mind is like I know that person didn't get there, like they weren't born that way. I'm more interested with the backstory, so that's why I try to find podcasts. Like, I want to find a podcast about that. I want them to talk about their story and what they go through. So, yeah, you sharing that shows like your endurance, your perseverance, and it's also a reflection of why you are where you are right now, of the things that you went through. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I gotta ask you this question because it's always good to talk to another fellow door to door. Door to door. So, can you? I remember your brother who I interviewed last Friday. We talked about a little bit more, but how was the door to door when you went to your first job? Was door to door? How was that experience for you coming out of college? Your first job, door to door, 100% commission. You gotta go out there and knock doors all day, deal with rejection all day. It's a brutal business. It's cutthroat. It's eat or be eaten savage type of business. But how was that going right from college and going to door-to-door business? And what did you learn? Because I know for me, being in the door-to-door industry has definitely grown exponentially. And I think there was a article I read that said, if you want to learn more about you can learn more customer experience and sales in doing door-to-door for 1 year than going to college for 5 years and try to learn customer experience and sales. You can do that 1 year door-to-door.
100%. Yeah. I 100% agree with that. And dude, I mean, my experience was good, man. Like I loved it. I loved, especially transitioning from football. It was a very similar thing as far as the culture, as far as the competitive aspect of it. I loved it. I think I attribute a lot of my success that I have now to doing door to door. Right. Yeah. I mean, it's not easy, dude. Like you said, you face rejections all day, right? You fight through 100 no's to get your first yes. Yeah. Right. And so door to door is not easy, man. And for me, when I look at people that come from the door to door space, man, I got nothing but respect, dude, because I know how hard it is. Yeah. Right. And it's a grind. And I understand, like, if you can like push through that, I mean, dude, there's not really many other things in life that can be thrown at you that you can't fight through. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And so I love door to door. I'm super grateful for it. I mean, but it's not for me, dude. Like, if someone were to ask me would I keep doing it, hell no, dude. It's not for me, man. It's too many hours. Like, I don't know how people do it with like being married and having kids, bro, because you work all day. Yeah. Right. And you see a lot of veterans, right? People have been there doing like 10 years, 15 years. Yeah, hell no. And like, again, I got nothing but respect. Yeah, respect. Yeah. For them. You know what I'm saying? But it's like I said earlier, if I'm going to work 90, 80 plus hours a week, like, I've got to be making stupid money. Yeah. Right? Or it's just not worth it for me. Right. And so I think, like, I love the job. And if I were single, I would probably still be doing it. Right. But again, my goals and my objectives, they've changed. And what I was doing in door to door wasn't aligning with what I wanted to become. That's true. What was there? Because I know you mentioned before you have a hard time speaking, but then you went to door. You had to learn the hard way. You learn real quick how to talk to people. But I guess for you, like, what was the what principles or skill sets that you learned from door to door, and that you apply now for your life that's helped you in your business? Grit. right? Grit, being able to just figure it out as you go,
Yeah.
right? Like not taking no for an answer,
Yeah.
right? Being able to take rejection, right? Also learning when to say no, right?
Yeah.
Like not being a yes man, right?
Yeah.
That's a skill, right? Like you mentioned perseverance, right? Like being able to keep going, right? But also working with the team, right? And although I've done that on the athletic side, doing that in like the job atmosphere or like the financial side,
Yeah.
being a team player, right? I mean, like in door to door, there's a lot of competitions. There's a lot
Yeah.
of like you team up with this person today and you go against them, right? Like there's a lot of those happening during the day, like during the weeks, right? And so being a team player, right? Making sure you carry your weight so that your partner make sure that they can hit their goals, right? So you hit your goals together, right? So a bunch of stuff like that, man. But dude, everything I've learned from doing door to door, I'm still utilizing to this day in different businesses, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of successful people that they had a background in door-to-door sales, but I guess the biggest principle I learned from door-to-door sales was just there's always somebody out there that's going to say yes. You know, if you keep knocking, I think that's what I think most people. I think if I forgot who said this. I know it's I think Dallin's connection just dropped off. Let me see if he's willing to jump on. Oh. Well, let me see if he can jump on. I think there's a connection issue. Yeah, I think there's a connection issue and he's about to jump on right now. But as always, everybody that's been watching the entire stream, I see T's up. Joe, 4240, I see you guys in the live chat. Thank you so much, Paulo Festa. I appreciate you guys being active in the live chat and your comments. And like I said, if you have a question or if you want your voice to be heard, drop a super chat, support the channel, or ask a question to Dallin, and we can respond to you to conclude the podcast. But I do appreciate you guys. If you find value in the content, please support the content by dropping a super chat to donate. But nevertheless, Dallin, I have one last question, and we can conclude the podcast.
Yeah.
I do host a podcast called The Masculine Mind, where we focus on male masculinity, self-improvement, and purpose, about developing young men to become good, strong, masculine men, providing protectors for their families, fathers, and husbands. Okay, so the young men of this generation is it's a little different. It's a little different, Dallin. What I see on social media compared to my generation and what I saw growing up back in the islands. But I know you're a father now. You have a family. You have a beautiful wife. How has that impacted not only your focus but also your hunger, your drive? You know, because I talked to successful entrepreneurs who are married, and they always talk about hunger and drive, but they always say that when you become a father, it affects your hunger, your drive, and your focus a lot. It's a different impact the way you see yourself in your future when you finally have a legacy and you have people that you're responsible for. So that's just my last question to end it off. All the young men that are watching this right now, how being a father, having a beautiful family, how has that affected not only just your focus, your hunger to get up every single day and do what you do?
Oh man, it's tremendous, man. Like it's I can't even put it into words how much it's affected it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I've always been told once you get married, you make more money, and then once you have a kid, you make even more money. and And it's so true. And I maybe my experience is a little bit different, but the reason why I've been able to do that is because my goals, my objectives, they change less on the monetary side and more on the time side, right? The most precious commodity has become time, and it's because of the people that I have waiting at home for me, right? It's the people that I have to walk into the door to. Right. It's that's everything that I do. It's all about, okay, in business, how can I condense time for myself and other people so that I can get home and spend time, as much time as I can with the people that I love. Right. And so as far as the perspective goes, it's not necessarily, I've always been a hungry person. I've always been a self-driven and a self-motivated person. Yeah. But now I want to get things done a lot quicker. And in business, speed is everything. Yeah. Right. And so having 2 kids and a wife at home, like I want to get it done even quicker. And it's because I want to go home and I want to spend time with them. Right. And I want to provide a life for I have 2 sons. Right. And a lot of people don't know this. Well, now I feel like a lot of people do, but I was raised by a single mother. Yeah. Right. And there was a lot of resentment that I had during my life towards my father. Things that I blamed him for not being present at the times that I wanted him to be present for. Right. And so being a father, right, I mean, my goal, my whole objective is to make sure that when my kids are older and they're the same age as me, they're not going to say the same thing. Right. They're going to know based off of the example that I set that the sky's the limit. Right. That anything you set your mind to, you could do. Right. And so for me, I wake up every single morning with that drive just to make sure that my kids see me doing it and that they know what they could accomplish.
Okay. All right, man. That's powerful. That's really powerful. You're what I love about that is you've accepted accountability that you don't want your kids to go through what you went through and you want to give them a better life. So I think that's me personally. I think that's the responsibility of every parent, that you always want to give the life of your kids a better life that you experienced. Yeah. So that's powerful to me. I'm all about family. I'm all about strong values, and man, you're doing it, man. You're doing it. You're killing it. You're creating a legacy.
I appreciate it, man. I'm trying, and again, I mean, I think for the younger generation that's listening, right? No matter how you do it, take pride in the responsibility that you have or that you're going to have as a protector, as a provider, right? Like that's the best responsibility, the best title that a man could be given is a protector and a provider, right? And so I feel like a lot of people, whether they be the same culture as ours or other cultures, right? They take that for granted, right? They're kind of just going with the motions, right? They're doing what society expects them to do, and they're hoping that it works out like how other people have it work out, right? But I mean, literally, like I couldn't emphasize this more, or as much as I'd hoped to emphasize it. But being a provider and a protector, not only for another human, your spouse, but also your kids, that's a huge role that has a ripple effect into society.
Yeah. The one thing that comes to my mind, and especially all the men I see that's just doing it, being you and all the other men in my life that I see that are great examples of being entrepreneurs, but also family men. Just think about it. Your sons, their example of what they believe what a man should be and their expectation and standards is you, right? Mm-hmm. And that's like, how powerful that is. Yeah, especially if you come from a background where you didn't really see a lot of high standards and from men. So their base level, I guess their base level expectation is the standard you're setting right now. And of course, I know you're gonna do what you got. I know our biggest dream is always our kids do better than us. And then say your sons grow up and then they get to the next level and then they have sons and that's their base expectation. And that legacy just goes into fostering and developing just a line of strong, successful men in your lineage. So that's why for me, I love that. You're just planting the seed for strong men into your family and your future. So I think that's really powerful. That. So Yeah, man. So, Dallin, but we've come to the end. Thank you so much for making the time. Shout out to Dallin, real quick.
I appreciate you for having me.
Yeah, shout out to Dallin. Thank you so much for coming on here and making the time. I know you're a very busy man, so I really appreciate you coming on and dropping some value for everybody that have an opportunity to watch this podcast. So, Dallin, what's your final thoughts from tonight? Anything you want to leave for everybody, and then how can people find you? Did you want to reach out to you, connect with you, and support your business?
I mean, as far as what I want to leave, man, I think the biggest thing that I've learned in being, husband, a father, an entrepreneur, business owner, a successful business owner, a business owner that has failed. I think the biggest thing that I would leave, and this is something that my mentor left with me, is begin with the end in mind.
Yeah.
Right. That's so crucial, and I've grown to appreciate that even more. And what that means is, in the end, identify what's going to matter the most. Right. It's not how much money you made. It's the legacy that you've left. It's how many people are you going to serve? How many people are you going to change? Right. What type of what type of impact are you going to leave? Right. That's what matters. Right. It's not about making millions and millions of dollars. Right. And so my advice to, everyone is begin with the end in mind, and that'll align with what's important. Right. And so that would be my message. That's something that's changed my life. That's something that I have written on my wall that, I look at every day. As far as how to find me, dude, anybody could hit me up, man. I'm pretty easy to get a hold of. I'm mostly active on Instagram. I'm pretty new to this TikTok and Facebook thing. Instagram is my main source of contact. My Instagram is dallinpeely.official. Anybody could hit me up on there if you guys got any questions.
All right, no worries. Dallin, thank you so much. Everybody on the live chat, thank you for watching. I appreciate you guys for always tuning in from the live shows on Friday. But I'll see you guys next time. I'm gonna end the stream, Dallin. I'm gonna talk to you right after. Okay.
Okay. 1 second. Sounds good, brother.
Peace, y'all. See you guys next time. Peace.